guys, I've been meaning to record a video about this topic for a while, but anxiety has been getting to me quite a bit, and that's part of the topic that I'm going to discuss today, which is accountability and why you shouldn't be ashamed of yourself if you give up sometimes, and why you should forgive yourself for it. But before getting into that, I hope you don't mind that my hair is drying up. I finally got the courage to actually, get in front of a camera and record a video. I'm usually not that good with cameras. I might be on Instagram a lot, but I don't know if you've noticed, I tend to, take pics of my notes rather than record my face. But yeah, it's a thing I'm working through. Eventually I'll work through it and I won't be as scared and as, uncomfortable in front of a camera. Everything is a skill, especially this type of stuff. I'll get used to it. But yeah, I wanted to kind of address the culture we have going on of holding yourself accountable for many things you do, as many as you, plan ahead on doing. And sometimes you don't complete, but you still have to post something about it. You still have to tell people, yeah, I had this long list of things that I wanted to do. I was really motivated in the morning, but then at the end of the day, I didn't end up finishing, for example. It's happened to me quite a few times. I tend to be very perfectionist and an overachiever, you can say. And I tend to pressure myself into doing so many things all at the same time, all perfectly. Otherwise I just kind of crumble and stop doing everything I do and just lay in bed watching YouTube, which is not a bad thing per se. I love YouTube. YouTube is a great platform that has so many content creators that deserve a lot of love and support, and you can actually help them out by watching their videos, buying their merch, all that kind of stuff. Actually being a follower, not just following and not watching the content. But I think what basically gets me to the point of crumbling down and giving up on a list or all the tasks that I have going on and that I want to keep myself accountable for is the fact that I will not be able to stand up to my own expectations of myself. As in, I won't be able to follow through with all the plans I had. I won't be able to deliver the perfection that I want to deliver. And that just makes me shut down completely. And that's not a good thing. That's definitely not a good thing, because as long as you advance and as long as you give your best and as long as you can keep going, even though you might not be giving your best shot at something. You might not be able to, maybe, I don't know, just Genki 1, get through half of the book in 3 months. You might not be able to do that. You might get through one chapter and you know that chapter very well. And that's okay. Sometimes you have to be a bit more permissive with yourself, especially when it comes to hobbies or to things that you don't think are required. And I don't mean languages are not as valid as I don't mean languages are not a valid hobby and they shouldn't be taken seriously. What I do mean is that we should forgive ourselves when it's a thing that you can schedule yourself in a way. Like, for example, let's say I have a deadline to finish, well, this is a true story. I do have a deadline to finish 5 levels of Talk to Me in Korean this year. And maybe I plan to have 1 level each 2 months. But I keep skipping, I keep not doing what I'm supposed to do, what I scheduled to do. And it reaches to a point where it's August and I haven't followed through with the schedule that I set for myself. What should I do? Should I crumble down? Should I just give up on everything that I had planned and everything that I had worked so hard for? Even though, like, for example, let's say I have 5 levels to get through and I was supposed to get through 3 levels by the end of August. but I only got through like 2. Does that mean that my hard work is nothing just because I didn't reach my goal? No. It's still something. I still did stuff. I still managed to get to that level too. And I still managed to study up to that point. And what I'm saying is, even though you might not be satisfied with what you have done, it's still work. It's still hard work. And you still put in a lot of time to do it. You still work really hard to get to that point, and you should still love yourself and congratulate yourself for it. Like, even, for example, let's say another example is I set a goal of reading 100 books this year. Let's say I only read 50. Are those 50 books not valid enough just because I didn't read 100? No, it's still 50 books. It's still a lot of content that I enjoyed. Still a lot of knowledge that I, got from reading those books. So what I think is, at this point, really harsh with ourselves. We're really mean to ourselves in the way of, yeah, you might be comparing yourself from what you were in the past, and you might be, wanting to get better. You might be trying to improve yourself. But that is no excuse to bully yourself. Because it reaches a point where you wouldn't be doing this to a stranger, for example, on the street, or a friend even. You wouldn't be like, oh my god, you haven't been doing this and that, you're such a waste, you scum, why haven't you been doing this? You wouldn't be that hard on someone, on some random human on the street. Why are you so hard on yourself? I know when you're in the moment, it just doesn't compute in your mind that way. You wouldn't think about it that way, but that's essentially what it is. It's putting unnecessary pressure on yourself, especially with a hobby. Like, as I said before, language is our hobby. At least for most of us who are in the language learning community. Or this can be applied to anything. This can be applied to, let's say you're a student like at university and you have so many things to study for your classes, and you put a deadline and you need to study this and that before that deadline. And you realize, I'm not gonna have time for all of this, or you kind of laze it around for a bit too long. I don't think you should hate yourself for it. I don't think you should put that level of pressure on yourself. It's okay, you just gotta reschedule. You gotta figure out a way in which you can fix what you have done, I guess, and you can finish studying what you're missing. But just accountability doesn't equal to bullying yourself. And accountability shouldn't be something that makes you break down, shouldn't be something that gives you anxiety when you're thinking about it. Accountability should be something that gets you up, gets you ready to do something, but not just because of fear. Not just because of the fear of not being good enough, not following the schedule you set, and that meaning you break down and you give up. No, accountability should be a way of motivation per se, like a way of getting you going. And even if at some point you give up on, let's say, a plan you have, you end up giving up on that plan, I do not think that you should be too harsh on yourself. I'm someone that, for example, I quit. I'm a dropout. I'm a dropout from, how do you translate that to English? A radiology technician. I quit like a few months before graduating. I dropped out. I stopped going to class. I was extremely depressed. I wouldn't go to class anymore, and I don't think me destroying myself for it is a good option, because I can always go back. I can always go back and finish that degree. You can always go back to anything you have given up on. Giving up, it may seem so definitive and so dead set, like it's just done. You cannot go back to change it. No, you cannot go back in time, but you can still finish that. You can still go back to, let's say you started learning Russian and you gave up on it. You can still go back to Russian. Let's say you started learning Korean, you gave up on it. You can still go back to that. You still have some notions. Even though, I only learned the ABCs and how to pronounce things. You already have that. That's still an advantage. You're not a beginner anymore. You're not someone that, well, you may not have the knowledge to say you're an intermediate learner, but you have the basis of, I know something in the language. And that still puts me ahead of the me that was unaware of the fact that, for example, there's liaison in French, or of the me that was unaware of the fact that this existed. So it still gets you to a place where you know some things. This was a long ramble. I hope you guys didn't get bored or anything. I tend to ramble when I have a camera in front of me because I'm bad with conducting a straight train of thought, I guess. Like I do. Irse por las ramas is what we call it in French, in Spanish. It's not French, but I hope you guys got something out of this. And my main, I guess conclusion you could call it, is that once you give up on something, you can always start it again, or, you know, go back to it, and you haven't wasted your time just because you gave up on something. And just because you held yourself accountable for something, it doesn't mean you should bully yourself and get yourself down just because you didn't reach the goals you had set for yourself. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I hope everything goes well, and I hope you guys keep on working hard and, you know, taking into account your mental health as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video.